Alright, guys, before I get to the next video, be sure to hit the like button, like the video. It helps us out in the algorithm and it don't cost you a damn thing. So, yeah, this is from Mundo Weiss. It says Trump launches October 7th joint task force as they said war, genocide on Palestine. I mean, as war on Palestine protesters whites. My bad. My bad. I read that wrong. Yeah. So, yeah, like Trump is trying to crack down on um, people exercising their First Amendment rights. Think about that, man. Think about that. Just think about that for a minute. But I'm finna read it to you. It says last week the Trump administration announced the formation of a joint task force that it said is meant to hold Hamas leaders accountable for the October 7th attack. But many fear it will be yet another weapon get to another weapon the administration will use to target activists within the United States. Of course, right? Like they went after, well, Trump went after Mahmoud Khalil, put the guy. They said the guy was in Elizabeth, New Jersey detention center, but they moved the guy all the way down to my state, Louisiana, away from his pregnant wife that could have had her child at any moment. Like, man, I gotta watch what I say on YouTube, but y'all know how I feel. Oh God, but let me continue. The Joint Task Force October 7th will investigate acts of terrorism and civil rights violations by individuals and entities providing support and financing to Hamas, related Iran proxies and their affiliates, which is similar to work that began under the Biden administration. But of course, Joe Biden. See that's why. Of course, Joe Biden is complicit in the genocide, and um, like like that people heads were getting cracked over protesting for Palestine when Biden was in there. So why not with Trump? Just have a task force. Oh God. The new task force, however, is targeting acts of anti-Semitism by these groups, which the administration has indicated refers to campus activism for Palestine. Wow. A bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds holding up from the river to the sea Palestine will be free signs and wearing keffiyehs and waving Palestine flags. That's terrorism in their eyes. But let me continue. The victims of Hamas' decade-long violent campaign of terrorism against Israel. Oh, I can't. Will always have the support of the U.S. government, and the department will no longer permit legal support for Hamas on our campuses and elsewhere in the homeland, said Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in a statement. Anti-Semitic acts of terrorism or whatever here abroad will never go unpunished. The move comes amid deepening the crackdown as multiple protesters have been detained over their activism, including Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil, a permanent U.S. resident. Like he's a permanent resident. He's not. He got a green card. That's what green card is basically is. And permanent participating in last spring Gaza encampment is currently being held at a detention facility in Louisiana, while his case get heard in a New Jersey court. See, that don't make any sense. Like, why is he thousands of miles away in another facility while his case is getting heard in a New Jersey court? Like, Mahmoud Khalil didn't do anything wrong. Like, just I mean, it's intentional. I know, but sometimes you gotta ask yourself, like, why do this shit happen? It's um, Mahmoud Khalil, I really, he sounds like he's a good person. He like that's why I always say, like, why do bad things happen to good people? Like that's why I say it's like bringing this up is shallow, but Trump is a convicted felon. Like motherfucker got away with bloody murder, and he's free while Mahmoud Khalil didn't do anything wrong in being held like a political prisoner. Make it make sense. But that's the United States. When you're rich, you get away with shit, unless you know unless it's a few cracks where like uh, 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 that that pedophile. Damn, I forgot his motherfucking name. Shit, that was Trump's friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Like, and Diddy. Those slipped through the cracks. But anybody else, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Um, the legal risks are real, right? Attorney Thomas Anthony Durkin and Bernard E. Harcourt in The Guardian. They are pernicious and they are alarming, where a designated foreign terrorist organization such as Hamas and the Popular Front of the Liberation for Palestine, uh, or related organizations such as the Sandawan Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network is concerned, the line of separating political advocacy from material support to terrorism can be razor thin, and any doubt tends to be resolved against those engaged in the political advocacy. Groups like Samadwan, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, have already faced government attacks. Last October, the organization was slapped with sanctions as part of a joint action undertaken by Biden, Treasury Department, and the Canadian government. Of course, right? We see it as a part of this campaign against the Palestinian people, against the Palestinian diaspora, against the Arab and Muslim community, against the solidarity movement with Palestine. Samadwan's Europe coordinator, Mohammed uh, Khatib, told Mondo Weeks at the time. We've seen these forms of repression against the student movement, against the queer movement, against the Jewish community for setting up for Palestine. So we are part of the package. Yeah, and also too it's crazy like people that say that people it's hard for people to say that Jews that support Palestine are anti-Semitic. Like can your own like how can you be anti-Semitic and you Jewish? Like, but anyway, while targeting the while targeting of Palestine activists and organizations isn't new, Trump has expanded domestic repression to levels resentment of the McCarthy era. Student protesters like Khalil and Laquia Corda, who is currently being held at a Texas detention facility after being arrested in Newark, have been scoped by ICE agents, not for specific crimes, but for allegedly threatening the foreign policy interests of the United States. On March 17th, Badr Khan Suri, a Georgetown University professor and a postdoctoral scholar on religion, was ambushed by ICE officers near his home in Virginia, outside of his home in Virginia, taken into custody despite not being charged with a crime. He was informed that the federal government had revoked his visa. That sounds familiar, right? Like, even the Trump administration basically came out and said, "Yeah, Mahmoud Khalil didn't do, he didn't commit no crime, but um, but since he's but since he, but we gonna take his green card away for free speech." So yeah, that's why I always say we never have free speech in this country. It says ripping someone from their home and family, stripping them of their immigration status, and detaining them solely based on political viewpoint is a clear attempt by President Trump to silence dissent, said ACLU of Virginia senior immigrants rights attorney Sophia Gregg in a statement on the case. That is patently unconstitutional. Multiple lawsuits challenging Trump overreach have been launched in recent days. Yasu Chung, a 21-year-old Columbia University student and legal permanent resident, is suing Trump and other administration officials for trying to arrest and deport her. Chung was active in the school's Gaza protest, but was seemingly not as involved as Khalil. Her lawsuit in federal court in Manhattan shows the extensive, if so far unsuccessful, efforts by the U.S. immigration officials to arrest her. Notes the New York Times agents historically preferred to pick up immigrants in jail or prisons. Other types of arrests are more difficult, often requiring hours of research, surveillance, and other investigative resources. It says the administration is also being sued by two Cornell graduate students and a Cornell professor. That lawsuit seeks national injunction to block enforcement of two Trump executive orders. So, I'm gonna read this a little bit more. It says one of the student plaintiff is Mondu Tao, who almost had his visa revoked last year after the school suspension over his activism. And who was president last year? Joseph Robinette Biden. So, I mean, Trump is just continuing what Biden was doing. Probably the only reason why we really didn't hear about this until now is because it was election season and people, you know, obviously, right? People gonna focus on election, right, over this. I wish this was talking about more last year, and I should have did my research and talked about this. But Yeah. It says we anticipated some backlash, but not to this extent. Tao told Monday we thought that in a country that prides itself on the so-called rule of law, that claims to govern the world based on law and democracy. Yeah, that word is a joke. The courts would intervene before ICE and FBI start showing up at people's houses. Um, After Khalil was detained, Trump announced that there were many more to come. Uh, it says right here, I don't want I don't have an estimate, White House Press Secretary Karen Levitt told a reporter when asked how many times arrest to expect. I do know that DHS, based on a very good intel that they have gathered at the direction of the president's executive order, which made it very clear to the Department of Homeland Security that engaging, as I said, in anti-American, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas protests will not be tolerated. But you said protests, Karen Levitt. See, this how they get exposed. Um, See, this is how they get exposed. You said protest, not riot, not insurrection, protest. You have the right to protest in this country according to the Constitution. Pro-Mars protests will not be tolerated. Anti-Semitic. So basically, according to that article, they have been doing this for a while now. I mean, started with Biden. He started doing it first. Then Trump is really he kicking it up a notch. Of course, like yeah, yeah. Why not? Um, people that have visas and green cards, like they have a right to be in this country, but because they on the right side of history, like that's one thing down the road. I don't know how long will it be, but Mahmoud Khalil's, um, who else? Luigi Mangione to a certain extent. A lot of people say he didn't do it, which it doesn't matter. Like, y'all know Brian Thompson got unalived, but like these people will be on the right side of history. Like, I mean, what can you say? Like, hey, like I'll be on Red Note, and a lot of people, like a lot of Chinese think American is this wonderful dystopia of society, which people telling them like Americans that be on Red Note comment on a post saying, no, it's not what you think it is. So